Hello, this is part 6 of a video tutorial series on how to code the Asteroids game in Scratch. And what I'm going to concentrate on in this video is making it so that when the ship hits a rock, then the player loses a life. In the original Asteroids game, the player's lives would have been shown down the side of the screen. So I'm going to do that by drawing them into the backdrop. And I'm going to get a copy of the ship first, and then on the backdrop of the stage, I'm going to paste them in down the side here. I'll turn them around so that they're facing straight up. The player would normally have 3 lives, so using Command C, Command V, I'm just copying and pasting some ships here. They're not lined up very well, but they'll do for now. I've left a space at the top so that the score can be shown above, and then 3 lives underneath. When a player loses a life, it's going to switch to the next backdrop. So on the next backdrop, I've got 1 less ship, and then another backdrop. I've got another ship missing. And then on the final backdrop, I've got no ships, and it's simply going to say game over. And I'll move that into the center. Now, when the flag is clicked, the backdrop, I'm still on the stage here, remember, the backdrop will need to change to backdrop 1. So the player always starts with 3 lives. Now in the rocket ship, I'm going to move this code over and make some room, because this is going to get a bit longer now. I'm going to put an if statement. If it's touching the rocks, then I want the next backdrop. And also inside of that, I'm going to say if, here I need an operator, if the backdrop number of the stage is equal to 4, then stop all. So that's going to stop the game. So what's going to happen here is it'll wait and sense until the number of the stage, the backdrop number of the stage is 4. And backdrop 4 of the stage is the game over screen, so that's where all lives are finished, used up. So when it gets to stage number 4, or backdrop 4, it's going to stop everything. Now if I choose stop all, then the rocket ship is going to be frozen like that in mid-air. So another thing, just to make it look a bit more professional, is I'm going to hide the rocket ship before everything is stopped. If I hide the rocket ship at some stage, then when the flag is clicked, I need to show the rocket ship again. So I'm just going to grab a show and make sure that as soon as the flag is clicked, the rocket ship shows itself if it's already hidden. Now let's put all these pieces together. So this needs to go in there. So if it's touching the rock, switch to the next backdrop. Now if the next backdrop is backdrop number 4, hide the rocket ship and stop everything because the game is over. Now all of this needs to go inside that forever loop there. Alright, I'm going to see how this works. We may find there's one or two problems with it, but let's have a look and see what happens. So I've got 3 rocket ships here. I'm going to run into an asteroid, and straight away it's game over. Now it's game over very quickly, but what's actually happening is it's going through all those lives faster than we can see it. It's happening way too quickly. And the reason for that is, when it switches to the next backdrop, the rocket ship and the rocks are still touching. So even though the backdrop has switched, it's still wanting to go to the next backdrop again after that, and so on, until the game is finished. So a couple of things need to happen. We need to move that rocket ship back into the center of the screen, and we need to move all the rocks back to the edges as if they were starting over again, away from the middle. So that gives the player a chance to move the rocket ship and restart the game again properly. So the first job then is to move the rocket ship back into the center. Now that happens here when the flag is clicked. So I know the code that I need to use to move the rocket ship back into the center is actually these 3 blocks here. And rather than writing them out again, I'm just going to put those into a block of my own. So I'm going to make a new block, and this is called Restart for the Ship. So those 3 instructions there define what it means to restart the ship. And I'm going to put that back in there so it does it as soon as the flag is clicked. But I'm also going to use it down here so it switches to the next backdrop and it puts the ship back in the middle again. So it returns it to 0, 0, it points it in direction 0, and it sets the speed of the ship to 0 again. Now the other thing I need to do is make sure the rocks move to the edge. Now, the rocks won't know when to do that unless they're told to do it at the right time by the ship. And this is what these broadcast blocks are about. If you ever wondered what to do with these, this is for one sprite to broadcast a message to another sprite. So this rocket ship is going to broadcast a message to the rocks, telling them to restart. So I'm going to say restart as a message, and that's going to be broadcast here as well. So when the ship restarts, it's going to broadcast a message to the rocks to restart, and the rocks should head on back to the edge when I do that. Now, of course, I need to define the code in the rocks that makes that happen. So when they receive a restart, what's going to happen is they need to reset themselves. And like the ship, that's the first few blocks of code where they start at the beginning of the game. So I'm going to make a new block here that's going to be restart for the rocks. And I can define that here by getting that set of blocks and putting it here. So the clone needs to do that when it starts, after the flag is clicked, and it also needs to do it when it receives the message restart. So when the ship broadcasts the message restart and the rocks receive the message restart, this is what happens. We set that chooser to that random number again, 1 or 2, and then it tells it to go to the right coordinates at the top or down the right hand side. Okay, let's see how this is working. All right, well, that looks like it's working perfectly. So when the ship hits a rock, you'll see the ship's down here. I lose a life. The rocket ship goes back into the center again, and the rocks all disappear off back to the edges to give me a chance to restart the game. And I only get the game over after I've run into the rocks 3 times over. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Okay,